morning and welcome to Daily Focus. And I've entitled this one, Teach the Teachable and Reach the Reachable. Uh, so many times we can spin our wheels and waste our time trying to convince people who are just stiff-necked and rebellious. Jesus is going to address this with his disciples. I'm not going to deal with the parable of the sower. I'll introduce it, but we'll deal with the meaning of it more so tomorrow, Lord willing. But really, what is it that Jesus is going to say here? And I'm not going to read the entire passage, but I'm going to read a couple of verses. The same day Jesus went out of the house, sat by the seaside. The crowd was there. He went out into the water. They stood on the shore. And behold, he said, a sower went forth to sow. And when he sowed, some seeds fell by the wayside, and the fowls came and devoured them up. Some fell upon stony places, where they had not much earth, and forthwith they sprung up, but because they had no deepness of earth, and when the sun was up, they were scorched, and because they had no root, they withered away. And some fell among thorns, and the thorns sprung up and choked them. But other fell into good ground and brought forth good fruit, some 100-fold, some 60-fold, some 30. Who hath ears to hear, let him hear. So Jesus is going to basically say, if you want to hear truth, I will give you truth. If you don't want truth, well, you're not gonna hear what I'm saying anyway. You're not gonna believe what I'm saying, and you're gonna misrepresent what I'm saying. It kind of is like today. If people don't want truth about America, they'll believe any lie. But if they want truth, they'll pursue truth and they'll listen to truth. They'll actually apply the truth and make good decisions. The same thing is true for Christians. If you go to church and you're not interested in hearing truth, you're just checking a box, you're just going through motions, you're just appeasing some friend or whatever the case may be. Well, it doesn't matter how much truth is preached. It's not going to change your life because you don't have ears to hear. And so Jesus is here telling his disciples, teach the teachable and reach the reachable. His disciples came and said unto him, why speakest thou unto them in parables? In other words, why are you using a parable? And Jesus said, because they have ears, but they don't hear. They have eyes, but they don't see. They have a heart, but they don't understand. And so he is saying, I speak to them in parables, verse 13, because they seeing, see not, they hearing, they hear not, neither do they understand. And so in them fulfilled is the prophecy of Isaiah, which basically said they would have eyes to hear, or eyes to see, but they would not see. They have ears to hear, but they will not hear. They have a heart to understand, but they don't want to. And so they're dull of hearing and dull of seeing. Their eyes are closed, and their hearts are hard. And so when you look at the text, you're really coming to this idea, how do you reach people who don't want truth? Well, the reality is just you can't. We don't make decisions for people. We just make all of ours. We can share with them the truth, and we should be sharing with them the truth. But if they close their heart, if they close their mind, if they push us away, it can become obnoxious for us to try to force our way back in. It can become offensive to people when we push our message, our agenda onto them. And I'm not saying we shouldn't, to some degree, be persistent or we shouldn't be consistent. I'm just saying I don't think we should be overbearing, and we should not waste our time. Jesus is saying, I shared with them the truth, but I know that there's all kinds of different people here. There are some that basically are shallow, and they really have no heart for truth. So it comes and it's like hard ground. It never takes any root, so it's not going to bear any fruit. Some of it is stony ground. They're just hard-hearted, and so therefore The birds are the birds are going to come and take it away from the hard ground. The roots are going to be shallow in the stony ground, and the thorns are going to choke out when you have too many cares of this life. You're too distracted by other things. But here in the last part, he says, but some have good ground. In other words, Jesus is telling his disciples, pursue after the people who want truth, where the seed is falling on good ground. The people who have a hard heart, the people that are shallow, people that are too tied up with too many cares of this world, you can present truth, but you just have to know it's not going to bear fruit. Look for the ones who are teachable, look for the ones who are reachable, and pour your life into them. And so it is a wonderful, wonderful reminder to each of us that you know what, we shouldn't get frustrated. It was true in Jesus's day. It's true today. Not everybody we want to reach can we. Not everybody that we want to impact we can. Everybody that we want to influence, are we allowed to? We have truth and we want to, but we're not always going to be able to. So we need to step back patiently and with wisdom, say, okay, who is reachable? Who is teachable? Who's receiving truth? Who has a desire for truth? Who actually wants to operate according to truth? And pour our life into those people, just like Jesus is going to say. And then he's going to give the explanation to his disciples. Why? Because they are reachable, they are teachable. They're the ones that God wants them to embrace this truth so that they can give it to others, to understand this truth so that they can give it to others, and to not get discouraged because people just won't listen, because people just won't respond. We live today in America where there is so much distraction. We live in a culture where there's so much deceit. And so lots of people, they claim to want truth. Some of them even claim to have truth, but they don't. And they don't want the truth. And so we ought not be discouraged. We ought not allow ourselves to get frustrated. We should just understand that those to whom God brings along our path, who are teachable and reachable, we should pour truth into them. Why? Because they'll bring forth fruit. God bless you. I hope you have a great day. I'll look forward to sharing this parable with you.